Welcome to Engineered Muscle Podcast number 9, guys. Today we'll be talking about a lot of the myths and we'll be answering some of the questions that we get on a regular basis. So this podcast might turn into something that is hilarious, but also very scientific. And yeah, it'll be a good time. I'm excited about this one because we're just going through some of the questions we got, and yeah, needless to say, they are pretty funny. But you guys will like them. And the best part is, guys, if you're listening to this and you find those questions funny as well, that means you're on the right track. If you don't find them funny, then we need to continue making this podcast and you need to continue to listen to it.
I just want to clarify that these aren't really questions that we've necessarily been asked. Most of our people who follow us are a little more educated. These are some from like a group that I don't want to say I participate in, but I just see some of the feeds from it. And yeah, they're going to be funny. And there were actually a whole bunch more funny ones that I couldn't even find because they got buried. But yeah.
No, I like it. Madison, you want to put your microphone closer?
It's up to my mouth.
There you go, right there. Don't move it around because it just creates that weird noise.
Yeah.
But that's good. Let's get started. I know today's going to be probably a short one, but so yeah, let's get started.
You want me to read one then?
Yeah, let's start it.
Okay. Is it possible to still put on muscle with heavy weight training if someone is fasting or in a caloric deficit?
Is it possible to put on muscle while someone is fasting and in a caloric deficit?
Or
in a caloric deficit. Yeah, newbie gains for sure. The first few months you will put on muscle anyway. But after that, you'll start seeing diminishing returns. And that happens to a lot of people. Caloric deficit is great for, getting rid of fat. But see, building, and we did a whole podcast on this where we talked about all the different ways you can build muscle, 6 different ways, I believe. And what's fascinating, before I give it to Madison, I'll just add that what's fascinating is that most people don't understand how much work it is for your body to actually build muscle, to start that muscle building synthesis, to protein synthesis, the whole process. So if you're starving yourself, you're eating 1,200 calories, then it's hard. And that's why a lot of like natural bodybuilders or even the other enhanced bodybuilders, they take like their off seasons very seriously. They're eating more calories. They're just as disciplined as they are on season. And putting on a lot of muscle takes work, and putting on, even like in the beginning, you will put on muscle and then your body will be like, okay, this is what I'm happy with. But if you want to continue, because you don't want to stop, right? Because you just are on this like train of building more gains. So you just continue. But the goal with this, guys, is to take some like period of little diet breaks, and we can talk about that later. But normally with me, it's like I compete on a show, and then I would take like a year or so off and just build. Because when you're cutting for a show, I mean, you're doing so much cardio, you're giving your body every signal to get smaller and smaller because you do want to drop that fat. And at that point, because my very first show, actually, during the prep, I started building muscle. And that was not because caloric deficit was the reason or that was the reason. The reason was I was still a beginner. And for the first time in my life, I was actually eating enough protein every day. And I was training religiously 5 days a week. So if you are somebody who's never had that, then you will make gains even in a caloric deficit, as long as you're getting enough protein and as long as other factors are accounted for. But the more advanced or more intermediate, further away you get, you'll start seeing diminishing returns.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. I wanted to say that when you're a beginner, you can do almost anything. You can just shotgun it and do something and do anything in the gym, and you're pretty much going to see results. But as you advance and as you start making your way into intermediate, you're going to have to start thinking about your training a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be super dialed in necessarily when you're an intermediate, but it needs to be a little more thoughtful than you were when you were a beginner. And then when you start becoming advanced, then you really don't have all the leeway that you previously had. You're going to need to have a lot of the details dialed in and set up right to continue progressing at that point. Because of that, when you're an advanced trainee, your rate of muscle building is not is you need to it takes like a year to put on maybe 5 pounds, maybe 1 pound if you're really advanced, and that for a beginner you could do that in a short period of time because it's all new to you, and so you can get away with your calories being whatever when you're a beginner really, and when you're an intermediate you can still recomposition, you can still kind of get leaner and build muscle at the same time. When you start being advanced, you can't build muscle at really build muscle at much of a maintenance level, and you really can't cut at not a deficit. It starts getting much more. You have to be a lot more specialized. You need to take time to bulk. You need to take time to cut when you're advanced. But earlier, you can get away with a lot more. Beginners can build muscle probably at a caloric deficit, depending on how advanced you are. And if you're intermediate, you probably can recomp, but probably not if you're.
Can you define recomp for our users, for our listeners?
Yeah, recomp is just short for recomposition, which basically is you're remaining relatively the same amount of weight, but you're now more muscle and less fat when you're done. So you're gaining muscle and losing fat at relatively a close rate. So while your weight's not really changing, and you're probably at a maintenance level for your calories, you're still effectively building muscle and then using your fat for energy, which is something I is very useful for someone who's still in that realm to be able to do. But once you start getting advanced enough, it becomes harder and harder to be able to pull something like that off.
I like it. Let's go to question 2.
Question 2. Let's see what we got here. Healthy food list, please, guys.
That is very good. Yeah.
You want to start it?
Yeah, I'll start. All right. So build everything around protein and then go from there. So what I mean by that is when you go to the grocery store, or when you go to you do your grocery shoppings every week, the first thing you should buy, or the first thing you should have in mind, is your protein sources. For me, and this is just like a list that I follow for myself. I'll actually pull it up here. So for me, it's the first thing I always buy is chicken. And the next thing I buy is lean ground beef. And usually like all I need is 2 protein sources, because one is for lunch, one is for dinner. And then for breakfast, egg whites and normal eggs. That's all I normally buy in terms of my protein sources. Peanut butter tends to be that little like cheat meal that if I ever feel like too hungry at night, and I'll just take a spoon of peanut butter. But in general, start with the protein sources. So let's say you don't eat beef. Well, you can do chicken, turkey, fish. There are a good amount of sources of protein that can really help you. And then those are your good staple ones. And then for breakfast,
you can have pork too.
Can't hear you.
I said if you're not halal or kosher, you can have pork too.
Pork is good too. So then like those 3 big ones, or 4 or 5 if you include fish and turkey, and then egg whites in the morning. Or if you're not a fan of egg whites, you can have a protein shake in the morning. So like start thinking of your foods in terms of protein. And then for your carbs, what I normally do is I buy sweet potatoes, red potatoes. I'm like falling in love with red potatoes so much. There's something about baked red potatoes for lunch. They like just make me happy. And so baked red potatoes, sweet potatoes, and those 90-second packets of Ben's rice from like you can buy them from every grocery store. Those are like just throw them in the microwave for 90 seconds and the rice are good. So rice, sweet potatoes, red potatoes, those 3 would be my carbohydrates. And then for my fats, I love avocados. I usually have like 1 avocado with my breakfast. Avocados, then peanut butter, and then never ever forget your vegetables. I almost always have like 3 or 4 servings of vegetables. I have a tough time like eating raw vegetables, so I buy the frozen vegetable bags, and I just eat them with my lunch or eat them with my dinner, depending on how I'm feeling. But yeah, like guys, the thing is like these are all really good list of healthy foods, but most of you already knew it, but most of you are not doing it. And the biggest reason is you're just not finding your rhythm, your groove with it. Meathead once told you to eat, 5 egg whites in the morning, and you just can't do it. So you feel bad now. So you just like all or nothing approach. So for those people that want to get started in this, I want you to really like think about your lifestyle. Try a few different types of meals. Which one works best for you? Which one can you absorb? Which one do you feel good eating? And that would be my advice for healthy foods.
Yeah. So Mo listed a whole bunch of a good baseline of how to think about your foods, the proteins, the carbs, the veggies, and I want to add into that. So this question is pretty ambiguous, right? It's asking what healthy is. Healthy is a little bit relative, and it's relative to you, but only you can make what you're eating and looking at Mo's diet and not falling into the trap that a lot of bros do is making sure you're eating nutrient dense foods. So when you're making those choices to fit your proteins, your carbs, veggies, like Mo was talking about, is try to make when you can a more nutrient dense option. So for instance, not doing just 5 egg whites in the morning, including at least 1 or 2 yolks in there, because the yolk has all the vitamins, it has all the healthy fats, it's a choline source, it's really good for your brain, it has so vitamin D, has all these vitamins.
Choline.
Yeah, right. Acetylcholine.
That's such a great neurotransmitter. If you're a student or if you're somebody who needs to get their brain running early,
get your eggs in, whole eggs. Now, it's not to say that you can't have, you don't have to do 100% whole eggs. That can be kind of based on what your macros or your needs are. But have at least 1 yolk, maybe 2, depending on, what your needs are. Then for like when you're having your meat sources, choose more nutrient dense meats like beef over chicken when you can fit it into your macros, and also have a wide array of vegetables. And I really like leafy greens like kales and spinaches and collards, and I'll buy them fresh, and I'll usually just cook them down with a little bit of olive oil and garlic, and it's fucking delicious. You can even roast some of them too, is good. There's lots of ways to do it. And then just other things that have just nutrient density and that give you your vitamins, your minerals. Make sure you're using salt. Having bone broth is a really great, nourishing, really good for your GI tract. A lot of minerals in there. Good protein, good collagen is good for your joints. So that's also another really good thing. Stuff like that.
Tell me more about bone broth. I've never tried it, but I know actually a lot of people who probably listen to us, they probably also know of Greg O'Gallagher from Kinobody. Greg is he made intermittent fasting very popular. And we should actually do a whole episode on that topic. But he talks a lot about how to suppress your appetite. There are a few things like caffeine, like coffee or bone broth are great alternatives. So bone broths, you can buy them from a regular grocery store, right?
Yeah, you can buy at some places. So you can get them in those what those called. Those little you can get milk in them sometimes too. Those little that square cardboardy sort of things, and get broths in them. You can get it in that. You can get it in a couple other kind of things, and you can make it too. Really, all you need to do is have bones and connective tissues, whether that be chicken or beef or whatever. So if you just boil it, let's say you make a whole roast chicken, right? Rather than throwing away that carcass when you're done, eat all the meat off it. You're all done. Throw that baby in a pot of water and boil it, and just boil it for several hours. You can do the same thing with turkey carcass or leftover beef bones or any of that kind of stuff, and you just boil the crap out of them. You just get a rich, wonderful broth. Add a little bit of salt. It's amazing, and you get a lot of collagen from the joints and the connective tissue. You also get a lot of the minerals from the bone, and it's just there's also a lot of vitamins and nutrients in there, and it all comes out into the broth. And you can turn it into a soup if you want to throw some veggies in, get even more out of it like that. Throw some meat back in there. So there's a lot of things you can do with it. Some people just have the broth in a cup, like coffee, with a little bit of lemon or just on its own, and it's nice, warm, delicious, nourishing drink.
I love it.
When you're sick, when people are sick, it was oh, here's chicken soup, right? Why? Because for the broth.
And normally, like the one you get from the store, do you just like just open up the cardboard box and drink it?
Sometimes like I'll end up using it. Usually I'll make it for a soup, but sometimes I'll pour it into like a coffee mug, heat it up, and drink it occasionally. Yeah.
No, guys, and like this podcast is great because I learned things too. Like some of the guests we'll be having up next. There's so many things we talk about that even for me, I go back and watch those episodes again because there's so many things you miss out. But Bone Broth
I watched all the episodes.
is definitely. What
I've
is
gone
it?
and watched all the episodes, like probably at least once, if not more than once each, because I'm like even though I'm in participating in it, I'm still gleaming information out of them.
Exactly, and but yeah, like what's fascinating is that bone broth is now on my list of groceries for next week. And that's why I want you guys to think of like, let's talk about fashion, right? It's kind of funny how everything can be related to fitness. And the reason I say this, so if you look at fitness from a far end as a bird eye view, it looks like there's so much going on. There's vitamins, there's macronutrients, there's micronutrients, there's like meal plans, like boom, 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 like fucking 30 different things working at the
Yeah.
same time to create that masterpiece body.
And the deeper you dive, the more there is.
Yeah, exactly. So then, like, as a third person or as a beginner, you look at it and you're fucking lost, and you see your bro over there making gains on ketogenic, but Susan over there is making gain on vegan, and you're like, but Mo said I can eat ice cream once in a while. But Mo said I
Is
can
she
eat
making
ice
gains
cream.
on vegan? Is she, Mo? Is she really making gains on vegan?
All right, I'll stop. Well, my point being, it can get really confusing. I'll give you guys an example. I'm being so transparent here. A week ago, I was looking at my fashion, my wardrobe. I was like, my wardrobe makes no sense to me. It's literally just a bunch of t-shirts put together with a lot of ripped jeans. Like, it's not my style. Like, what is it that I want to look like, right? Like, this doesn't inspire me. So I called up one of my friends, and he actually wrote 2 books on fashion, and he's just up there. And I helped him with fitness like a while back, so he owed me one. We got on the call, and I'm like, bro, I'm lost. I'm lost. Like, I don't know what to wear on a Friday night. I don't know what to wear when I do this or that or when I do guest appearances. And he goes, okay, let's break it down. He gives me like 3 things to do. He's like, boom, boom, boom. And that's how I want you guys to think. So then I went to the store and I bought those 3 things. And now I feel so, like, not complete, but I feel like my wardrobe is very well put together. Because the moment you start getting overwhelmed, that's the moment you should realize that you're missing some part of information. Your brain is getting so scattered with all of this, especially fitness right now, right? Like for me, my fitness journey was an overwhelm for 2 years. I didn't know what to do. Everybody was doing different things. I didn't know who to follow. And then a coach came, I hired him, he grabbed me from my arm, and he's like, eat enough protein every day and train. This is the plan. Just follow the plan when you're in the gym. I made mad gains. For the first time in my life, it made sense. And that's what I want you to realize here. When you approach fitness, I want you to approach it with the eye that I'm creating my own lifestyle with this. And it will make complete sense going forward versus always being lost. And a lot of you think that it will make sense even before you get results. It won't. Go through the entire journey, get 6 pack abs, stand at the pedestal, and then you'll be like, fuck yeah, it made sense. Everything makes sense. Now it just fucking makes sense. This is how we create transformations. And no, it didn't involve that thing that I thought it would involve or that thing I thought it would involve. It didn't. So my point is, guys, keep it like follow somebody, model somebody, hire somebody, work with somebody who's already got it because it will save you time and it'll get you closer and help. Because at the end of the day, you want this whole thing to make sense. That's the reason you're listening to the podcast. You want this whole fitness puzzle to make sense. It will not make sense if you just, podcast hop from this podcast to that podcast, YouTube video to that YouTube video, it won't fucking make sense because every time all the experts sometimes contradict each other. And you as a beginner, the experts don't serve you.
And you don't know who experts are. That's another thing as a beginner. You don't know who's a trustworthy source and who's not a trustworthy source. And just to add on to Mo, when you get a coach, it's like a cheat code because you could be spinning your wheels for 10 years trying to sort out good information from bad information, from what's real and what's not, before you finally figure out, oh, this is how it is. And it takes you 10 years to do that. When you get a coach, you skip that 10 years. You go right to the point of somebody who's already wasted their time doing that. It's already got the information. Is already at the point, and you get 10 years in the future, and you're able to progress so much faster and start off on the right foot. Not to mention that when you start off on the wrong foot and you start learning how to do movements wrong, or you start getting bad habits, it's so much harder to correct bad movement patterns, bad habits, than just create good ones from the start. So I cannot emphasize how much a coach can absolutely transform your fitness.
And yeah, just to put an offer out, follow us on Instagram, shoot us a message if you need coaching, because we're both certified coaches. And Madison primarily works with guys who are trying to build a lot of muscle. I work with guys who are trying to lean down and get those six-pack abs. So yeah, whatever fits your boat, hit us up and we'll help you out. But continuing with this podcast, the point I was really going for was that, guys, if you're listening to this podcast and this all feels overwhelming, but you really want results, I want you to, you know better. There's nothing I can tell you that will really help you right now. You're overwhelmed. You need someone to Madison, you ever had like a friend or your girlfriend where you just like, they're panicking and you just like grab them by the arms and you just ground them for a second? You're like, hey, calm down, we got this, right? Same thing with you guys. Some of you are asking questions that show me that tell me that a lot of you feel lost. A lot of you don't really know what to do. A lot of you are like taking, are listening to so many people that is overwhelming you. And remember, guys, information without action is useless. There's a lot of biochemistry professors at colleges who are overweight and obese, but they know the metabolism. They know it so well. They know all the electron transport chain and shit, but it's not getting them results.
Yeah. When you're feeling lost and you feel like you're trying to feel overwhelmed, you're trying to get those feelings, you need to be self-aware. Just kind of stop for a second. You got to take a breath and take a step back in your thought process and kind of return yourself to what you know to be true, right? And stop thinking about the new information that you've been taking in for a second. Try to reground yourself, and then you can start moving forward again. Basically coming from knowing, again, everything always boils down to the principles and the fundamentals and the underlying principles that everything else is built upon, right? So when someone says to do this many reps or do that or eat this food, right? If you boil it down to the reasoning why that's a thing, it comes from the principle. So the sooner you can learn those principles and just hold on to those as your grounding points, the sooner you're able to wade through the information. Right? Because when you start thinking like, whoa, what is this idea? This conflicts this. And if you just go, wait, this is the fundamental truth. How did this fit together? And then you will see the truth of the matter. And right now, if you're a beginner, your fundamental truth might be just some things that you've seen success with. Or hopefully if you run into, you're listening to our show, so you're listening to some people who know what the hell they're talking about. So you also feel free, if you're feeling really jammed up, reach out to me or Mo and, let us know your question. Be like, look, I'm feeling really lost right now. I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this. Can you give me your opinion? Me and Mo will answer questions like that all the time.
All the time. And guys, like at the end of the day, we're both engineers. Like we're not doing this for like make a buck here or make a buck there. Like we got our shit together, and the reason we're doing this show and like this is like my Saturday morning, and we record like 2 or 3 podcasts sometimes, and we have guests on, and it takes a lot of work editing these. So if the end goal is to help you, the end goal is to like help you guys out and help create this army of gangsters of guys who are like actually getting results and actually promoting science-based, but also not forgetting the old school. And
Yes.
what is it?
An army of muscle engineers.
Army of muscle engineers. And that's what we're after, right? So that's why we spend time on this. That's why we create this content every day, every week to help you guys out. And if you need a little bit more help, reach out. Reach out. Like, so our Instagrams are literally, mine is at Mogias, Ghias, and Madison is Madison Malpa, right?
At Mastodon, Mastodon.
Yep.
At _ strong, Mastodon strong.
Yep. And so, yeah, like, just reach out. We'll help you out. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Yep. Let's do it. Let me just bring it up. Okay. Milk in my oats or water? Also, honey or peanut butter? What do people use?
You want to take a hit on this one?
Sure. Personally, I would just say oats and water, and I would avoid other stuff, any kind of thing really in there too much. And avoid adding extra sugars or fats, because oatmeal is a carb, and when you can avoid it, you want to try to not mix your fats and your carbs. The primary reason is because you want to avoid making hyper palatable foods, because hyper palatable foods are foods that are really, really delicious and really, really easy to eat a shit ton of and get a shit ton of calories.
Chocolate,
cheeseburgers, donuts, ice cream, things that are this combination of sweet and fatty and delicious, right? But those things are really easy to overeat, and they bring a lot of calories with them. Also, when you have carbs and fats, your insulin's going up while you have fat in your system, fat going through your bloodstream too. So it's just causing a lot of storage, and it's just generally I recommend staying away from that. Right? Usually the reason you're eating oatmeal is because you want a carb. So if your goal is to have a carb, have the carb, have the oatmeal. Right? Anything else is going to start kind of diluting your purpose there. You could probably get away with milk, but personally, I think that the milk just probably won't digest. You'll probably mess with your digestion, and that's for the milk. That's my reasoning is the digestion. And also, in general, I'm not a big fan of peanut butter for the same reason. I think peanut butter is not very healthy. When peanuts aren't very healthy, then they don't digest
very well. I agree. No, yeah. So the milk, actually, I think even like last time I heard, there was a journal in the JAMA, which is the Journal of Academic Medicine, like for medical doctors. It's out of England, and they did a study on how milk wasn't as healthy as they once thought for children, for pediatrics. And I think milk is like, every time I go home, my mom is all about like, drink more milk, drink more milk. And I'm like, wow, it's not that good for me. But even like my oatmeal this morning actually is sitting right here. I just put water in it. I don't even buy milk anymore. And for me, I'm lactose intolerant.
That's also.
Yeah, so it just messes me up even more. So I don't even bother with it anymore. Yeah, we should do a whole episode on like digestion, because that's a big topic.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hopping onto the milk just a little bit more there. Another big thing with milk, especially if you're in the U.S., most milk, the quality, everything just goes into most commercial dairy all goes into milk banks. So you get a ton of mixing of different milk from different cows. It's ultra pasteurized. It's homogenized. It completely changes the nature of the milk. Not to mention what those dairy cows are fed. Right? If you go to a local farm where you can see the cow and you see the person milking it, and you have it fresh and raw, which is technically illegal.
Really?
It's illegal to sell raw milk.
In the US?
Yeah.
In Pakistan, that's all we got. We like literally agree with it.
But I bet when you're in Pakistan and you have milk, it doesn't kill you the way it does when you're here.
No, No, and that's the fascinating part. So that's actually a really good point there. So I grew up in Pakistan. I lived there for 13 years. We lived in a village. We had a buffalo at home, and then my aunt had he had a cow. And even I just got back from Pakistan 2 months ago, and I mean it's still the same model. People still have their own animals. My aunt's cow died, right? Like her cow died, and bro, like it was a sad day because
Yeah,
an animal there is an investment like a car. It's an investment. And
that's
so,
feeding you.
exactly. So, like we would like every morning whenever my mom would get the milk from the buffalo, we would drink it. And I never even knew. No one in Pakistan knows what lactose intolerance and all this bullshit is. No one
Right,
knows. Like,
right.
and we since we like farm peanuts there, like I mean we have like farms of peanuts. I still, out of like all of my experience, I don't know a single person who was had peanut allergies there. And then when I came to US, I started hearing about all these things. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Everybody's
Yeah,
lactose intolerant, and then I realized I'm lactose intolerant now because, like, like whenever I would drink milk, my stomach would get really upset. I would get gassy. It just wouldn't feel good. And then one day, it's my coach, I think, I was telling him the story, and he pointed out, he's like, bro, you might be lactose intolerant. And I was like, shit, that makes so much fucking sense. But
well,
I never took into account what you just said, which was the quality here. It might be the
yeah,
quality here that's bad or that's low.
right. Because I bet if you found some local farm and you just asked the person for a bottle of milk and you had that, I bet you probably have almost no problems. Because when you pasteurize it, so what is milk? All mammals create milk to feed their young, right? We also create milk to feed our young, right? That's why women have their beautiful mammary glands. The So we as mammals are raised to be able to have milk. Now, a lot of people say, well, that enzyme kind of degrades as you get older, which is partially true. If you stop having milk, you might lose the enzyme. But when you get it straight from the teat or the udder or whatever, when you get it straight from the source before you treat it, it comes with enzymes and cofactors and all these things that help you digest it, right? But as soon as you start heat treating it, those break down and you no longer have them. So the lactose is way harder to break down now. The proteins are harder to break down now. It's no longer the complete
Yeah.
nature designed food that it was. It's a little bit different now. So quality of food is also really important when you're talking about what foods are. Even like same thing when you talk about your meats. What the feed of the animal is affects the content, affects the fat content, it affects even the age of the animal is a big thing. In the U.S. now we have almost all our steer are killed like I forget how many months it is. It's like they're like 2 years old, maybe even less. Whereas that's a really weird practice, and that's a relatively new thing that only started since like mad cow happened, and it happened because of the feedlots and like industrial beef production. But like in most parts of the world, right, you'll have a cow that's 8 years plus old before you slaughter it, and
Yeah.
that has more time to eat grass, more time to soak up nutrients, more time to develop, right? Which also means it tastes better, but has so much more nutritional value. Same thing for chickens. Chickens are like, I forget how long it is. It's like 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, something like that. I have to look it up to get the exact number. That they're barely even alive. That's why there's so little nutrition in them. They haven't had time to eat anything other than that crap that they feed them anyways. So what the quality of your food will also change how you digest it and how much nutrients you're able to get out of it. Right? Like a wild piece of meat, like if you eat deer or game or elk or whatever, completely different animal than something that's
Dude,
raised.
one of my biggest desires in life is to hunt a deer and just
I really need to go with my friends.
what is it?
I really need to go with one of my friends. I've never actually been hunting because like my parents never did any of that kind of stuff. But
My
like
parents did either.
I fucking want to do that. I kind of want to do it.
No, you know what's funny? You know what's funny? Like hunting used to be the poor man's sport, right? Like back in the day, the caveman, like the villagers hunted every day. And
It was life.
it was
It was
like,
life.
exactly. And the men who, like, the strong guys today, the strong men today, the big fucking guys, like, that was their job. That's what they were born to do, right? And now hunting has become a very rich person sport. Like, not very rich, but like it takes a very special, like a lot of middle class families don't go anywhere close. And it also has to do with geography. Like if you live in California or in LA or any big city, you're very less likely to go hunt. And
Yeah, there's less out there, and there's also a lot of more stigmatism against it now. Now killing an animal is seen very poo-poo, and even when and that goes even into our grocery store. When you buy meat, you've never seen that animal. Most people, like, if they saw an animal butchered, they get all like whacked out seeing an animal die. But that used to be part of our human experience. We've hunted longer than we've not hunted in human history, right?
ooh, that's like,
It's such a disassociation with where our food comes from now, right? Because you go down the grocery aisle and there's this box or this can or this pre-prepared thing. Like, nobody knows where food comes from anymore, and it's
no one
really
knows.
kind of fucked up.
All the bodybuilders eating oatmeals every day don't even know where oats come from, right? Like there's like such a big disconnect between what we eat and dude, like, and part of it, like people love talking about how processed foods messed us up as a society. It did, but part of it is like that was the best way to sustain all of this because not ever because we now a lot of us are fucking soft. Let's be honest. People are, I mean, and I'm in that generation. I'm 24 years old. Like, I look at my peers, and this is something I've been like, even as a coach, I've been getting a little hard on. Like, when my coach looks at me, the best coach I've ever had, or any of the coaches I work with, like right now, even with Psycho, like, they give it to you straight.
Mm-hmm.
They don't fucking play around. It's like, hey, you gained a pound or 2 pounds this week. Yeah, cut your carbs in half. Oh, you can't do that? Well, fuck you. It's like,
I want it.
exactly. That's what gets results. That's discipline. That's everything. So when you, like, I don't know, I'm all about like being like, understanding and soft. But lately my approach has been like, follow me and I'll get you results and you do what I say. Like, make it work. Make it work. I push them to make it work. Make it work. No excuses. Oh, you're going on vacation? Well, the good news is every fucking restaurant in America has a chicken breast and has a serving of rice and vegetables. You don't have to get fancy with lasagna. You don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. And the best part is, Madison, is that some of my clients who actually gotten results, I tell them like, you remember college, right? Or you remember grad school where like going through every class is fucking hard. You have to work so much harder. But when you get the degree, you can chill a little.
Yeah.
Like, you can just take a little breather. It's like, okay, got it. The same thing there, guys, with fitness. Same fucking deal. Jay Cutler right now, Jay Cutler can do whatever the fuck he wants because he's won 4 Olympias and he can just relax now. He can just chill a little. But for a lot of you, you're trying to relax like Jay.
Still on the grind. Jay is a monster. Jay is killing it. He is such a astute businessman too. Like,
Dude, he's up there.
That dude's killing shit.
No, and my point being, like, but if you see his training or if you see his lifestyle, it's more a little chill now. He's like, all right, let's go eat tacos. Like, he's a little relaxed down. But a lot of people, first of all, we're soft. We don't want to hear tough feedback. But you know what, Madison? The one thing, so I was in a coaching conference yesterday, and there were so many people asking me questions, and fitness coaches. And what's fascinating is that they're just like sick and tired of hearing lovely answers. They wanted the truth. I had one girl tell me, she's like, Mo, you can just tear my business model apart and give it to me straight. And I was like, yeah. Like, people are craving that. And same thing for fitness.
This is my biggest gripe with all the explosion of online fitness trainers now. Everything's all foo-foo and oh, we got to do this mindset work. No, bitch, you're making fucking excuses, right? Like, when I work with people, I care very, very deeply about my clients. right? I am like, I care about you. And if shit's going shit's going on with your life, I feel for you. But there's also a difference between like real shit and something you're making into an excuse, and something that really isn't a big deal, but you're using it as a big deal to block yourself. And I will fucking call you out on that shit. And I will make sure you challenge yourself. Because as when I work with a client, I want you to be challenged. I want you to be challenged mentally. I want you to be challenged physically. I want you to be challenged emotionally. Because only in that state can you grow to your higher order self in all those aspects. Right? You need to be challenged. Now, that's not to say that you'll be beaten over the head, right? You can't be too much challenge, but we're going to give you some challenge, and you're going to grow to it. And then we're going to give you a little more challenge. So you're going to be more, when you first start in fitness, you don't know how to organize your day. You don't know how to fit everything together. And you start like, okay, are you making it work? We had a little more for you to do. Now you have to organize your day even more. You have to become more efficient. Then we give a little more. And before you know it, everything you're doing completely changes. Your whole life changes. You're more effective at work. You're more effective at school. You're more effective with your loved ones. You're more effective with your free time. You're more effective at the gym. Everything you do, you give into that moment, not other moments. You're not distracted by a bunch of bullshit flowing around, looking at your phone and stuff. You're focusing on the task at hand, getting that done, and not having waste throughout your day. Right? And just being productive in every aspect of your life. And that's a process. So you don't go there overnight, but it's that steady increase of challenge. Likewise, you're able to handle more mental stress, more emotional stress. It's like, oh, I've been fucking dieting for 4 fucking weeks. This shit is hell. I'm fucking going out of my mind, but I'm fucking still sticking in it. I'm challenging myself to do it. And I'm getting off on how much I'm able to do. And if you have that mindset, it makes dieting so much easier too. Because rather than thinking, oh, I really wish I had that cookie. Oh yeah, I hate doing this. I really just need that ice cream. Versus, no, I'm not gonna, fuck that. You know what? Not only am I not gonna have that ice cream, I'm gonna take this carb off from this meal too. Because I want to do it. I can do it. I'm gonna challenge myself to that extra level. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do an extra 10 minutes of cardio because I want to see what I'm capable of. And it'll completely change your game with that attitude.
Exactly. And guys, the sooner you realize that soft people don't get far in life. Do you think Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, all the greats, Abraham Lincoln, all the fucking great men, regardless of your opinion on them, the people who are fucking remembered even after 300, 400 years, right? They weren't soft. They weren't like, hey, I'm sorry, that fucking hurts. They were like, oh, I needed that. I needed that.
Any businessman, any president, anyone influential, even our freaking current president, right? I mean, say what you want about him, he's still fucking persistent, right? And
right.
like if you go look at Edison, right? How many times did he fail to make a light bulb? I mean, what did he say? No, I didn't fail. I learned how not to make a light bulb. I learned 1,000, whatever.
Right? Like, and guys, like, get in the mindset of we can make it better. We can, like Madison and I are engineers. So I always think when I look at my business or when I look at my fitness, I think of it like an engineer. I'm like, okay, we got this going on right now. How can we make it just 5% more efficient, 2% more efficient? And when you start thinking that way, life changes. So for me, like lately, my training sessions have been little, like they haven't been like the greatest. So then I actually go and train with my coach in person at Gold Gym, with the coach who trains Mr. Olympia. And all of that bullshit was gone. None of those fucking feelings showed up. None of those motivation factors fucking came into play. It wasn't the fucking Monday that was gonna slow me down. Psycho was at the platform and he's like, Mo, let's go to town. We went to fucking town. And after 3 days, my back is still fucking sore. And
fuck yeah.
And my point is, guys,
challenge. You're like,
exactly.
I could wuss out, but no.
And he didn't ask for my permission. He didn't ask how I was feeling that day. He didn't ask what my pre-workout or post-fucking workout was. He didn't give a damn whether like I ate my vegetables the day before. We were going to town with that workout. We were gonna give it all we got. And we gave it all we got. And that when you start thinking like that, and the easiest way to get to that level is to have mentors who you fucking look up to and they don't keep up with your shit. They don't. And it's like, sometimes we're too soft with ourselves. Like when I travel, every hotel has a gym and every hotel has that. But every time I go to a hotel gym, my workouts, I know as an expert, like, I'm like, I had it, but didn't give it 100%. In my head, I went into that gym thinking that since there's less equipment, I'm going to give less of my effort to that workout. And it fucks with you. Versus when you go in, you're like, I don't give a damn if it's like 5 pound dumbbells. I'm gonna go to town. Like I'm gonna give it my all. And oh, that
1,000 stop reps.
exactly. If that doesn't challenge me enough, let's start doing 10 burpees, right? Like you gotta take it to town. And every time you conquer those little wins in your mind, you start to become a winner every day, every time, every set, every rep. And so yeah, back to hunting. My biggest desire is to literally like hunt a deer and just stack it into my garage and or in my fridge, like literally pack it and have the protein for a month or 2 months or 3 months.
Yeah, same. I want to try a bunch of things. I mean, deers. There's a shit ton of deer over here. We got plenty of deer, but I'd love to try some like elk and stuff like that too.
Dude, I'll fly over to your side of the world.
You gotta come visit. By the way, we gotta get some training and shit. Then
so guys, for those who don't know, I live in LA and Madison is in New York. So we're like East Coast, West Coast, the opposites. Yeah, dude. No, I drove through Albany once on my way to Boston and we got a workout and it was only like 30 minutes barely. We'll plan something better. And you got to come over to LA.
Yeah, I have to figure out how to get there.
Find a way.
You need to do it.
Yeah, like.
I'll also take Bree or else she'll kill me if I go without her.
What is it?
I'll have to take Bree or she'll kill me if I go without her.
Yeah.
She wants to go to Cali real bad.
Yeah, and I know she has like high expectations of who she wants to meet. And I hope I can be friends with all those people that I'm like, hey, let's go meet that person. that's one of my biggest goals in life is to be friends with my idols. And so far it's been really good. So like our next guest will be somebody that all of you probably know of or look up to. So I'm excited about it. You want to do one more question or you want to call it good?
Yeah, show us doing what time is it? Man, that was boring. All right. Here. Okay. This one I can answer really fast, and then maybe we can do another one. Can I build muscle without weights? Can you cross the country in a horse-drawn wagon? You can. I'm taking a jet.
So fucking good. So fucking good. I love it.
Oh, this one kind of. I'll read this one. Let me know if you want me to. If you want to dive into this one, we'll do another one. This is kind of what we were talking about before, guys. Is it healthy for a bodybuilder to drink milk mixed with eggs in the morning?
You go ahead.
If you drink eggs raw, it's not that it's a bacteria problem, but you're gonna get some bad gas. Mix that with milk, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, don't do it.
Okay, here's one Mo likes. Any idea how to gain muscle mass with a high MATAB?
And MATAB, we just went through this earlier. MATAB is, I think he or she meant metabolism.
Yep.
So he said he has high metabolism and he wants to gain muscle.
Yeah, so I guess he's struggling to gain muscle because he presumes he has a high MATAB, and he wants to know how to gain muscle.
So the answer is
the answer is another no bullshit response. So everything's building. So you notice everything builds on each other this episode. So the answer is eat fucking more. Eat more. Eat more. I have trouble with hard gainers because then you see how much they actually eat and they're barely fucking eating. And it's like, exactly. No, it's not that you have such a fast metabolism. You eat like a fucking bird.
Exactly. Like, so most of them don't even know how, they don't count calories. They don't know how, they don't even have their meals in order. And it's like, bro, yeah, you're not a hard gainer. You're just not eating enough. So start tracking your calories. Start, looking in, like, being consistent with your meals. And if you don't gain weight even after eating food, then reach out to us. But you're not eating enough. That's the simple answer.
Okay, I got one. Hi, does anyone have any ab exercises that I can try out? I want to get rid of my belly fat. Thanks.
So this is like a really common question that I get all the time. The other day I was watching TV, and it was a Pakistani television, because I was at my parents' home visiting them for Christmas, and the fucking trainer was teaching everybody how to get six-pack abs, and he was like, skinny looking dude, and they were just doing abs exercises, and everybody was like, oh, I can lose all this belly fat, like these big beer bellies, I can lose that with doing crunches every morning. Here's the thing, guys. Let me walk you through.
If I work my abs, it's going to burn the fat from there, right?
No. Our body doesn't work like that. So you cannot spot reduce fat. So the thing is, guys, like right now, I look like this, right? But when I go down in my body fat percentage, even my face will start looking smaller, because like you lose fat throughout your body. There are certain areas of your body where you lose fat first versus last, kind of thing. But that's different.
Are you sure you're not doing base exercises though, and that's the real reason?
No. So the answer is, guys, like doing crunches and doing abs exercises, they are good to build the abdominal muscles, but do not expect them to burn that body fat. Body fat, see, abs, when you're training your abs, is such a small muscle group, you're barely burning any like you're burning very few calories. Versus if you start training deadlifts and start training your upper back or start training legs, those muscle groups burn more calories when you train them. And calories, burning them or using them in the process and getting your metabolism fired up, is how you slowly but surely start getting rid of the body fat or the belly fat. So doing crunches is a very fucking old school way of doing this shit. And you can do crunches. Here's the thing, I'll tell you, I'm not even that angry. You can continue to do crunches every day and still not see results for 5 years. Just like continue to do them. Just do them. If you have a big beer belly, doing abs exercises is as useless as, like, I don't even know what example to give. It's just as useless as like driving an electric car thinking it's saving the environment, but the batteries are coming from like,
no, you're gonna trigger people. It's as effective as a cruise ship made of newspaper.
That's it, way better. But you guys, I hope you guys got my point. So ab exercises are great for abdominal muscle. They'll strengthen your core. But at the end of the day, to get rid of that belly fat, you have to do big boy stuff. You have to get into the yard and play ball.
Yeah, and it's like the old adage, abs are made in the kitchen, right? So it's a big part of that is your diet, losing fat from the whole body, just like I was talking about. Training wise, you just want to fucking create the greatest demand on your body as possible. So fucking load up that bar and squat for some moderate to high reps. Like you do, I guarantee if you get if you have a moderate to decent strength and you start working whatever you can do for 20s on squats, you do like 2-3 sets of that, whatever else you can do that workout, next day I guarantee you're going to feel a lot leaner, probably sore.
Exactly. But no, bro, this was great. This has been not exactly an hour right now. Yeah, I had a lot of fun recording this episode. We talked about like I think me and you can talk about it for days. About hunting, about softness, about being a badass. Like I'm all about it. And I think more people need to hear it because, bro, like the more people I meet, on average 1 to 2 new people every day. Like I meet a lot of people, and people are craving for those hard answers. They want to know the truth. And like when I started coaching, I used to think that, see, all these diets that are out there, vegan, ketogenic, paleo, all these things, deep down, every person who tries them knows there's a better way. deep down, every person who's out there trying to do intermittent fasting right now, since they don't understand it, they don't understand how the whole thing works, they're looking for that missing piece. But even some people who are giving those protocols to them don't even know that missing piece. And same thing in
Absolutely.
business. Same
I
thing
think
in
that
business.
goes for all beginners and intermediates, and like almost no matter what they're doing, because I think everybody's still falling short of what their results and their desires are. And I think one of the issues that comes up because everyone thinks there's this missing piece, and then they see, bodybuilders or fitness models, and then what do they say? Oh, well, those guys are on steroids, right? And then they think that's the missing piece. And I think that's one of the dangers of what you're highlighting here too, and that's why we see a lot of that why that particular saying is said so much for exactly what you're highlighting now. And it's really not the piece that's missing. It's not.
Exactly. And the reason I can empathize with that crowd so much is that I was there. I'm the kid. No matter what I do, I'm always seeking God truth. Like, what is that underlying fucking sauce? That secret, that underlying thing. And a lot of the time, people tell you there is none, but there's always one. There's always something that you don't know. And just like the example I gave about fashion earlier, when you get overwhelmed, it's not because you're a little bitch. It's mostly because you don't know that piece of information. It's because you need more help. And when you can actually start putting it together, see, anything in life that looks really hard, you're not going to do it. Right now, fitness looks really hard for a lot of you. Like some of you don't even, like you go to the gym and you step on the treadmill and you run on the treadmill for 30 minutes and the next day you have no motivation to go back. So that is not a problem of you being a bitch. That's a problem of a bad strategy. That's a problem of not having a clear enough vision to where you can actually map out daily goals. Your daily goal is to go to the gym and like get healthy. Healthy is such a broad term. For me, my fashion statement was I want to look good. That is such a broad fucking term. No one knows what to do with it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like every time you try to enhance one area of your life, work with somebody who's actually a fucking expert and they can actually like call you out. They'll be like, yep, that's where we're going wrong. That's where we need help. And you know, it's funny, Madison, like every time I hire somebody to do something for me, whether to be my fitness coach, whether to be my whatever, I have just made my problem their problem as well.
Yep.
And what that does is they are an expert at that little area. And with their expertise, that problem gets solved so much faster.
It's like if you happen to be a homeowner and your sink starts leaking, you could try to go in and fix it yourself, or you could get a plumber. Who's going to do a better job?
Bob the plumber.
Maybe plumbing's the right thing. You have a roof problem. You're going to get people that do roofing, or you're going to try to climb up onto your roof and do it yourself, right? Unless you're an expert, unless you've done roofing before, you might want to consider getting the roofer.
There we go. Perfect, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave feedback, messages on Instagrams. You can also email us at engineeredmuscle1@gmail.com. Let us know your feedback. We'd love to know what topics you want us to cover. I'm actually enjoying the living hell out of this podcast because I love it so much. And I also like the guests that we're bringing along with us. And yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying it too. Any closing remarks, Madison?
Just make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the little bell button on YouTube. If you're listening on various audio platforms, make sure you subscribe. Share with your friends if there's episodes that you like. Leave us comments or send us messages. And also, if you guys have questions that you want answered or you want to suggest future topics to answer your questions specifically, also feel free to send us that at engineeredmuscle1@gmail.com and find Mo at mogias on Instagram and me at mastodon_strong. And I guess till next week, guys.
There we go. All right, guys. You can also, if you type daddy of fat loss, you'll find me. I'm the daddy of fat loss. That's literally me. There's only one daddy of fat loss, and that's me. But hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and have a great whatever.